Welcome. This is John Kierkegaard, President CEO of DCRA Incorporated, with Mark Cohen, Executive Vice President of Solutions. We're here today to talk about something near and dear to us, which is how to create high-value solutions in your supply chain quickly. And in particular, we're continuing this series where we've selected three very potent, very capable solutions we believe every company can benefit now in the post-COVID world. And we'll walk you through these and try to be as brief as possible.
Great, thanks, John. As many supply chain professionals have seen, their supply chains really have evolved over time based on the current needs, based on the current technology limitations, and really what you end up with is really a Rube Goldberg looking supply chain. Again, not well thought out, not well engineered. Here at DCRA, what we're striving towards and what our solutions provide is something that will offer a simple experience for the supply chain users, for everyone in your heterogeneous supply network. Now, COVID-19 has really brought to the surface a lot of these issues we have. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but what COVID-19 has done is exposed the risk involved with long lead time. Here at DCRA, we're going to help eliminate that long lead time, talk about how we can leverage transportation, and most importantly, talk about how to manage working capital around this risk and uncertainty to make you more profitable.
So unfortunately, many of you are like me, you're a cynic when consultants, technologists present a different way of thinking, and I look for the numbers to quantify. I mean, it's my Booz Allen heritage. I look for numbers to quantify opinion. And so I've seen these trends over the last 10, 15 or more years, and recently done the analytics to look at the macroeconomic success or lack of success in the last 20 years of supply chain technology, supply chain solutions. So despite literally billions or more dollars spent, we really haven't seen an increase in productivity as measured by, if you look at the world as a global GDP, inventory buffers has remained constant or even gone up in the last few years, even though independent companies like Dell was operating at very high 60 inventory turns in 1999. What's happened? Something's wrong. And really what we've figured out is that there's been a few firms like the Apples, the Amazons, the Coach handbags, the Walmarts of the world that have used these supply chain concepts very, very simply to stay a little bit ahead of the bear, to create huge competitive advantage for the business. And there's also been a few companies, small companies, maybe companies taken over by private equity firms that have used pure finance to crush out waste, but it's not sustainable. While really the bulk of the market, let's say 90% of the companies, have believed that things that really weren't core were keys to their success, which kind of leads us to our next slide, which I guess it's our attempt to try to bring humor to this, although often when I've been in board meetings and worked with clients, these things have almost made me want to cry. And that is, instead of focusing on the real core cash flow enablers, working capital reduction, customer market share capabilities, along comes these things like if everybody runs the same ERP or supply chain magically synchronizes, or RFID tags are the magic to supply chain. Just everybody puts an RFID tag on everything. And the latest has been the last 15, 20 years, we'll just low cost stuff out of China. We don't have to be good. We're buying it so cheap that we can be bad at order process. And look at COVID, what it's done. The volatility raised by COVID and the long lead times has just played havoc on the profitability and the capability of many companies. And all this where even core things like sales and operations planning, which is our passion, has been hijacked, and people want to rename it and proprietary it and broaden it and make it more financial term. So as Daffy Duck here is trying to show is don't be distracted by so much of these approaches that aren't core. So what really works? What really works, and you don't have to be an expert to understand this. You don't have to be some vendor selling sales and operations planning. Every company does sales and operations planning. every company matches demand and sales, demand and supply. The problem is when you get diverse, you get heterogeneous, you get spread out, you use many different systems, the netting of real demand and supply doesn't happen fast enough, often enough, and it doesn't happen with science. And what happens then is everybody overrides and creates their own version of what they think is the truth. And statistically, you create noise. So our success with our clients, our success with enablers that help make things work a bit better, is a vigilance that starts with a culture. Can I show up every morning with everybody in the organization showing up with a theme? Can I make what I sell? Can I sell what I make? How do I synchronize that? How do I communicate with that? How do I make my supply chain network work this way? How do I generate more cash flow? How do I make the treasury department better because I can use less working capital to sell more? And above anything else, this trend in the last couple of years to digitize everything, machine learning is going to bail us all out from our stupidity, is just not going to lead to success, right? The cool thing about this demand and supply focus is it also tells me where the constraints are. Back to Ellie Goldratt and constraint theory, by looking at demand and supply netting, it tells you where my constraints are, where it might be profitable to digitize certain things and re-outsource things and make things a bit better, additional bit benefit.
Great. So we're offering 3 solutions to help supply chains evolve towards this. The first solution is using S&OP thinking to engineer out the long lead times. And really, what does that really mean? I mean, how many supply chain practitioners wake up with what's going to go wrong today, or how can I squeeze an extra few dollars out of my supply chain, and how can I move forward with that? S&OP thinking is really, as John mentioned earlier, is waking up and thinking about how do I make what I sell and sell what I make. And at DCRA, we're anxious to discuss with you different techniques we can use and help you to think about that way. The next is enhancing the collaborative supply chain network communication. Think across all your suppliers. Think about your contract manufacturers, your 3PLs, and how much different types of technology they're using and how good they are with technology. Are you really communicating with these and collaborating with these different parties the best way possible? Or are you following one strict dictum that everybody has to do it our way, and yet there's 1,000 exceptions and everybody ends up emailing spreadsheets all the way around and end up with synchronization problems? And finally, we can discuss some opportunistic things. One thing is the ability to go direct to your customers to sell with some unique off-the-shelf tools out there, and also some of the follow-up background work that here at DCRA we can help you with, create some really unique opportunities that John's going to discuss here with us in a moment.
Well, Mark, that leads us to something that we believe is different about our approach, and something that should have been different for supply chain solutions all along, but somehow we drift away from it, is with as much opportunity to create value using great engineering that removes complexity and make things better. Maybe it's the industrial engineering in me. We really believe we can guarantee, if we engage with you for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, we can guarantee you the identification of massive opportunities for improvement. And let me start and just lay out a couple tenets of why we believe that's possible, and hopefully you'll understand. First of all, is our philosophy has never been about systems are the answer, or maybe systems with a big capital S are the answer, not technology systems. So our approach is to leverage and synchronize and complement capabilities you may have in place. It may be complementing great people who do great order management. It may be complicating one core inventory system that you need to complement with inbound and in transits. It may be there's one area you do good supply chain planning in, but other areas don't feed into it well. The first thing is we know how to complement both with process and technology and people what you have today. The second core concept is we've spent a lot of time engineering a diagnostic process. We call it total order fulfillment, but it really is about quantifying how good you can be. And that means we're not constrained by what your systems do today. We're looking purely at Wharton-style finance of how much working capital you need to generate the sales you create. some secret capabilities like how you create your planning bill of material, which is how you assemble your item, where you do production, and how you do transportation. So identifying how good you can be, which gets into solutions that can create value very, very, very quickly in this quadrant. Less time to implement and large time to value, or small time to value. Thirdly is because we haven't been able to find technologies to support this thinking and process that has been so successful with our clients, we have built a wide variety of tools and templates and software capabilities to support these approaches in many different environments. For example, something we thought would be very commonplace by now would be a rich supply chain execution repository for data coming in from across your supply chain network of capabilities you don't own. And we don't see that in clients today. We have that we can deliver to you for as part of our consulting effort. We have decentralized sales and operations planning capability that work more like a blockchain network and move that decision making out to the edges where the intelligence of your business are. And then lastly, I'm going to repeat it. I've just been amazed by the amount of great inflation, arms race to see which technology vendor can promise the most driverless, hands-off automation to replace people in supply chain, which, I'll be honest with you, I find humorous, and it's just not our approach. Our approach is that, running your business takes a lot of personal care and style, and sales and operations planning is a way to amplify that with science. But when it's all said and done, technology just supports that process. It's not a replacement for that process. And this is why our focus and approach really works. It's not overhyped. It's something that we can promise you that results can come quickly and rapidly. So in continuation, we'd like to consult with you in detail, offer you white papers, in more details with these solutions, but I'm going to give you a very quick overview of these 3 very capable solutions we believe every supply chain can leverage now for very rapid time to value, customer satisfaction, growth, scale, stay in business, grow your business. The first one is this diagnostic to understand how good you can be, but in particular in the COVID-19 thinking is there are some very powerful ways to, even if you continue to use long lead times, is to use engineering of your S&OP supply chain to make the long lead time manageable, or even make the long lead time something that creates competitive advantage. I can give you examples of these faster than I can explain it, but an example would be, I have a computer made of 5 components. Well, rather than buying that computer made in Asia, packed in styrofoam, taking a lot of cube space, buy it as components, and do final assembly maybe in North America, and add in some features like colors of the case or different keyboards so that you can offer a wider variety of product, but essentially the same product. And in essence, you end up using less working capital, creating more sales. And you'll create less exposure to those long lead times, because you can also have alternative sources. And there's many other options. There's some really cool thinking that we've patented around lead time and pricing that I'd love to share with you. So the second capability that we believe is more than strategic, it's obvious, but not done well the last decades, is how do I request and promise, how do I share demand and supply up and down my supply chain network rapidly, accurately, and scalably. What's happened as kind of a decision tree branch in the late 99s and 2000s, instead of evolving to technology that was decentralized and request and promise collaborative, we've seen this explosion of centralized dictatorial clouds. and this confusion by the community of selling these products, that the cloud, when you put things from an on-premise solution into a cloud, that all of a sudden, if I have my warehouse system, my transportation system, my outsourced manufacturing system, my order entry system, because they're all in the cloud, they collaborate. Nothing can be farther from the truth. The collaboration actually gets harder when you do that. You have to engineer the interfaces between these systems, often owned by different entities in heterogeneous locations, but for a very good reason. You have to make them communicate. It's a little bit like the telephone game as a kid you played, where you whispered around the table, and the thing you whispered to the first person, as it went around the table to the 10th person, came back completely different. Well, that's what happens in these supply chain networks, and particularly around production capacity, and kind of make 10 things a week for 10 weeks, it comes back as 100 in week 10. So when you get this right, life becomes better. When you understand that others don't do it well, then you start to play chess with it, and you use your ability to collaborate to introduce new products while end-of-lifing old products, and you use the short life cycle of products to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. And the third area that is one that I've played with, and we run our own manufacturing and supply and distribution businesses for automotive parts, as a way to kind of eat our own dog food. And years ago, we decided to release a lot of our patented solutions we use to build classic cars as components, and we looked for a way to take those to market. And what would have been literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to build as integrated order management, pricing, credit card processing, search engine optimization, we found these solutions that are now becoming very popular to take to market a web front end for demand creation that's very inexpensive, but more than anything, it's pre-engineered to a lot of the little areas of capability that are expensive to maintain, like credit card processing and search engine optimization and catalogs and configuration and look and feel and handheld integration to your phone, etc. What these things don't have is the back end fulfillment side, but these capabilities can be an incredible tool for you to not be a Macy's or a Radio Shack and feel like you need to focus on building things that go from the big warehouse to the little warehouse to the little warehouse and finally get to the store. Is in the world of COVID, post-COVID, and just common sense, you can begin to work on a supply chain where you create demand from a consumer or industrial buyer and work it back to fulfillment. And when you do that, it makes these notions of how do I engineer that S&OP fulfillment network in a way that creates competitive advantage? Less working capital, more cash flow, more adaptability, less cycle time. And it actually becomes quite simple. And so even if you're in a business where you're a distributor locked in, or you're a manufacturer locked into a distributor relationship, we can teach you how to create demand as a manufacturer that you can hand off to your distributor or you can fulfill yourself. So in summary, as presentations I like to listen to, is I'm going to tell you what I told you. I'm going to tell you what I tell you. I'm going to tell you what I told you. Here's our summary: is if we can use these concepts that go beyond the three to help you understand that you can rapidly and efficiently make your business use less working capital and generate more sales, to make faster fulfillment happen. In the case of COVID, less touches, less complexity, less Rube Goldberg, more Roman arch. By maybe increasing the catalog of what you sell, of which many things don't have to be inventoried, to complement your inventory, we by pure arithmetic increase your inventory turns, make your finance side very happy, make your capital treasury folks very happy, but more importantly, make your customers happy, make your salespeople happy, they have more to sell. And that's in lieu of static supply chains where you're letting a few leaders who figure this out, like an Amazon or a Walmart, take away your margins and force you into a business model where you have to pre-build inventory and hope that they sell it. And if they don't sell it, guess what? They make you buy it back. So in summary, whether you want to call it COVID-19 as an opportunity, or you just want to think about the way we think about it is engineering these solutions for decades for strategic thinking clients, the market for this has broadened, and we'd love to help you to take advantage of it.
Excellent, John. Thank you for all that. Now, we covered a lot of ground here in a very short period of time, but there's a few key concepts that we want to make sure everybody takes away. And if there's one thing you take away, it's how do you start thinking about how do I make what I sell and sell what I make? And we presented a lot of ideas here, but one thing we want to stress is these ideas are really intended to complement the way people work. We're not trying to replace a person with a technology. We're trying to introduce technology that complements the way people's work and really makes the experience much simpler so people can focus on what's important and on solving the problem. And also the technology we're discussing really complements your technology and complements the disparate technology of your suppliers and providers all around your supply chain network. Again, John and I could go on about this all afternoon, and we look forward to the opportunity of doing so. So feel free to email us at the email address there for more white papers on the detailed solutions, or give us a call at the phone number you see there. Thank you, and have a great day.